Are we live?
5 seconds, it says.
Yeah, there we go. Welcome, everybody. We made it. Welcome back to Spiked Bracket Boys. Woo, it's been a hell of a 2 weeks. Right, Johnny? How's your back feeling?
I was able to get off the floor. It was nice. Going back in the gym. Put up a PR on bench. Not a big deal. Back's feeling good. Got a nice little stretch out. Doing pretty well. There is something I'm a little upset about. I want to rant for about 12 seconds if you guys will give me the space. I'm a big Barstool guy. Everybody knows that. Love Barstool. A lot of things I do is, I love Barstool. These fucking cocksuckers decided that they're going to go ahead and steal my fucking idea about brackets and put it in a fucking podcast. So you know what? Fuck you, Lights, Camera, Barstool. Fuck you, Jeff D-Lowell. Fuck you, Ken Jack. Fuck all of them. Fuck Nick Tarani. Fuck KB. They're all on my shit. This was our idea. Just throw us a little cred. You throw us some cred, I'll take it all back. That's all I want is a little cred. I'll take it back because I love Barstool. I just want credit. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Go to war.
I'm not afraid to punch up.
Oh, if you want to know who's in charge, start punching up and see who gets you in shit. I think we should absolutely be punching up, and he's absolutely right. I will jump on board here and pretend like I had a hand in this idea, and this is something that I was a big part of. I was
Gonna done without you, babes.
but he absolutely isn't wrong that that's ridiculous. I would like to know what your PR on your bench was. We can do that off air if you'd like. I would also like to say that my back's been sore too, but that's been from carrying you two through this entire process.
That was pretty good. Let's just say it was three plates.
I saw that coming. Well, and so my back was sore as well. I just moved, so I'm still in transit, as you can see from the back. But I'm finally in a place where I can actually record and produce again, mostly. So we are back, and we're going to be finishing up the Rock Band bracket, which is right here, if I can get it to load.
Can we just get that down for a second, actually, just so I can see you again, Rob? Is that a recumbent bike with hands? What am I looking at in the background?
Yes, it's not. No, it's not. So I'm actually at my in-laws' place.
Oh, okay.
But I'm at my in-laws' place, so.
Well, I have nothing to say poorly against your in-laws. Thanks for saying that, because I was about to kill you for that. We will move on.
All right, guys. So last time we were here, we took a long time to get to the grade 8 because there was a lot of great discussion, which none of us really remember with any great detail. So we're just going to end up rehashing probably most of this again. Totally fine, is what it is. So let's talk about our first matchup. And I actually even have little graphics here if my computer will cooperate with me. First matchup, the number 1 overall seed, the Beatles, versus who was they against? Oh, yes. Versus one of my favorite bands. Oh, come on. There you go. What are you drinking, Bakes? And The Who.
I will be completely honest, for our fans who can't see us, forgot you could see me. So what just went on there real quick?
All right, sorry. I was just sorry that I haven't been engaging right now. Anybody watching? My bad. The problem is I was tweeting at more people from Barstool to go fuck themselves, and I tweeted them the link that maybe they can actually throw us some love. Because all we want is love. That's all I want. I just want a little love. But, that's how I'm going to be. So.
All you need is love, right? Would you say, Johnny, that all you need is love?
All you need is love. Love is love.
So we're going to get hit with so many DMCA nonsense, both from YouTube and from Barstool and from everyone. The Beatles for using their graphics. Anyway, so Johnny, between The Who and the Beatles, which one would you go with?
If I'm going to be honest and say honest and truthful to myself, the Beatles had a great run. I love the Beatles. I love The Who. But as for me, as my personal preference, who I would rather see in a concert, who I would rather listen to all the time, I'm going to have to go with people who like to trash hotel rooms and wreck guitars and probably fuck more bitches. So I'm going to go with The Who.
I mean, rest in peace, John Entwistle. Rest
Stay
in
with
peace.
my brand. I have to stay on brand. I'm an on brand guy. That's on brand for me.
All right, Biggs, let him have it.
I didn't think I was going to have to do this early. So let's get into some numbers here. Are you aware they are the highest grossing band still of all time? We're aware of that. The most number ones ever still of all time. And I can't stress this. I cannot stress this to you enough. And we're not talking about other genres. We're talking about rock bands. This is what's more important to me than anything. The Who, about 4 years ago, were in my area. I'm in Toronto. Obviously, they weren't in my area. Listen, the Beatles performed for 9.5 years. 9.5 years is the entire thing we are judging this group on. You want to talk about greatness? We're talking about quality and quantity in the smallest amount of time. In less than a decade, we were given a genre-changing, I see your hand, we'll come back to you. We were given an absolute genre-changing. They are responsible for what that line between pop and rock is. When you don't know where to put somebody, it's because of the Beatles. Where does Taylor Swift fit? I don't know either. And that's a hell of a stretch. But they made this okay. In the same way that Michael Jackson is responsible for what's a solo artist talent. What is rock music? What is pop music? It's why Elvis should be higher. We won't redelegate, because I'm not supposed to editorialize. I absolutely love the Who. There is no one left that goes toe-to-toe with the Beatles.
All right, that was a good point. You know, that's great. They were the best rock band of their era, maybe, yes, possibly. But just like UCLA basketball,
the era.
Just like UCLA basketball, they didn't really have anybody to go up against. They won championships against nobody. The Beatles were the first, so everybody thinks that they're the best. I don't personally think so. That's just my opinion.
They came up in the greatest era of rock and roll of all time. They were in the British invasion. Do you know who else is a nobody then? And I just Spiked Johnny B. Spiked Johnny B. Clearly, the Rolling Stones are nobodies.
They were a few years before the Stones.
Oh, I'm sorry. They didn't have overlap. Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't say that. I said they were first.
Yeah. So we're killing somebody for inventing the genre? Prove my point. Rob, finish this.
I'm just saying, just because they were first doesn't mean they were the best. Even though they were very, very, very good, I'd rather listen to the Who.
Well, you can, to each their own, and you get to be wrong as much as I get to be right.
Well, so here's the question.
Oh, I'm mad. I'm mad already.
No, so the question is, this is not really for the Who versus...
No, that they formed like 6-7 years before everybody else.
Well, so here's the real question. The fact that bands like the Rolling Stones, the Who, all these other bands came to prominence after the Beatles quit, basically, they broke up, speaks to how basically market shaping the Beatles were. Nobody else could get a word in edgewise in terms of having hits or anything else.
Who paved the way? Da, 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 da.
But that means that Beatles compared to any other band from that very specific time frame, that 9.5 years, can't compete, right? Because they did go against head-to-head with each other, and who was playing the giant stadiums and who was
How about Elvis?
How about Elvis? Elvis was a gospel singer as well as a rock guy.
I'm just saying, are you going to argue to me that at a certain point in time between the 50s and 60s, Elvis Presley was not the biggest anything?
Oh, no.
We're not talking about rock star. We're not talking about... You can always say, yes, that technically, and we'll get this into the next round, if you're going to say the Who had to go toe-to-toe with better competition, what you're trying to tell me is that Metallica doesn't have a better claim than the Who. because every generation we go further into the mid-late 90s, rock music, and especially what we're talking about, rock music, kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there was more bands and more bands. So Metallica had to go against bands like Guns N' Roses and AC/DC and Poison, which are technically not bands that actually fit in their genre.
That's right. Well, because
there is no genre without the Beatles.
No, I agree. So here's what I'm going to say. I think between the Who and the Beatles win. Because the Beatles they dominated the Who until the Beatles retired, basically. The Who did not have anything that could top what the Beatles were coming out with. Now, in their favor, the Who kept going, created amazing music after the fact, but they were around for the whole 1960s, and they couldn't touch the Beatles.
80s and 90s. And again, I am not somebody to say that if we're talking about athletics, something you'll hear me say all the time is the best availability or the best ability is availability.
Sure.
The Who played through.
Yeah.
But pound for pound, the Beatles still put out as much music as them. They just did it in 9 years.
The Beatles.
No, I know, but that's what I mean is that
the only band who can go toe to toe with the Beatles, we already voted out for some fucking reason. So I don't understand.
No, we didn't. They're still. I'm going to save my argument for when I have to go against them in the championship.
Well, here's what I'm.
I now know where your horse is in this race.
But you should have known last time because he doesn't hide the ball. This is the one thing Johnny doesn't do is hide the ball very well.
No.
So, but here's my thing is that if you are talking purely about time frames, then bands who are in the same time frames, they kind of have to go against each other, and you have to see who did better during that time frame. When they're from different time frames, you're comparing apples and oranges, and yes, fruit can be compared, but not as well as apples and apples. So anyway, so in this, so we're going to move the Beatles forward. I know Johnny's not happy about it. I again have all of my
and at this point, and again, let's all say this once, just so we get it out of the way, so we don't have to rehash this. I really like the Who, right? Like we'll just get this out of the way early in this show. We are now fighting about the greatest of all time. I really, you know what I mean? Like I've never. Well, yeah, no, 1.5.
With the exception of one band that made it to the Great Eight.
I've never, and again, I haven't had on what we'll call terrestrial fucking radio. I haven't had the radio on in a long time since I was laying stone doing manual labor. I never clicked away from the Who. I never clicked away from the Stones. I never clicked away from Queen. I never clicked away from Elton John or Elvis or the Beatles. They're all phenomenal. So don't come at us with that bullshit. I just truly believe the Beatles are better than the Who.
Well, and again, it's easier when they're matched up in the same era. So that to me makes sense. Now, let's talk about the next one where they didn't really overlap. We've got two other bands that I guess they overlapped a little, but not to the same extent. So our first band up, that's Rush. that's an original picture, I guess, from when they were coming up. And then a different band when they were coming up, Red Hot Chili Peppers. I really like some of these pictures too. They're very, very ridiculous. Anyway, you kind of get a feel for how whatever the band was from their heyday. So there was a little bit of overlap between Rush and Red Hot Chili Peppers, but not really.
Which is ridiculous in itself when you say that.
There was, in terms of the time frame, right? Rush 80s.
Well, no, I just mean Rush getting to the point where them and the Chili Peppers had overlap.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, exactly. So outside of that, their heydays both occurred in different time frames, and they weren't really supposed to be against each other or whatever, competing with each other. So, I'll start with Bakes on this one because, we've got the Canadian band. So what do you think, Bakes?
Okay. And it hurts me to do anything anti-Canadian. I will say honorable mention to Gord Downey and the boys, to the Tragically Hip. Please look up the Tragically Hip. They are the greatest Canadian band that's ever existed. This country is less than 5 years away from having a national holiday about their last tour date. And I'm not kidding. Now, if we're talking about who plays their instruments better, who's a better band, you going to go pound for pound with Neil Peart and the boys as far as musician goes?
Well, if that was all we were talking about, then no, we wouldn't.
The boys are some of the best as far as an entire band goes. There are a few bands that I could put toe to toe with them who play their instruments are better musicians than them. Right. Is he a high-toned, freakish, weird throat? Sure. The Chili Peppers were more influential to me. I think the Chili Peppers embodied California and a certain people better than my countrymen did us. But I wasn't alive then. I give it to the Chili Peppers because they were more influential to me.
All right. So, Johnny, you want to take this one?
I mean, this is a millennial podcast. We're a millennial football podcast. We are millennials. Although we do love the history of rock, we do appreciate what Rush did. I mean, you can't probably the best arena rock band of all time. If
that's what we're talking about,
if that's what we're talking about, that's a different.
Them
story.
and Queen.
But for me,
them and Queen.
But for me, personally,
right, but Queen didn't make it this far for a reason.
For me, personally, and for me, what hit me harder and what gave me like a sense of wow, I really like this kind of music because I was so young when I first heard them. It's the Chili Peppers, man. It's their discography is phenomenal.
And it's big, it's long, and it's heavy and different.
And every album it's so good.
And I wish, and I don't want to talk for you. I don't want to talk for either one of you. Our generations do not have true musicians in the way that we call people brilliant or geniuses often. Those guys, every album was different for the sake they wanted to do something different because they could have just kept putting out the same shit and it would have sold.
And I'm going to make a statement. I think they might be, along with maybe another band that's still around, we'll see, they are probably the millennials' greatest rock band ever. I
disagree flat out, but they are 1A or 1B. And if you have clearly what I believe to be as 1B, I'm with you. It's one of two. It's just them. Yeah.
But is Rush that's where this comes into play? Is Rush one of the greatest top two guaranteed 80s band? Probably top five. They're not top two. I mean, Chili Peppers are top two from the 90s on. I mean, honestly, they really are.
Right. And so, again, huge props to Rush in terms of just for a band that was its heyday kind of stopped before we were even born. I would learn way too much about Rush early on, for a band that shouldn't have had that much of an impact, right? But the first time I heard the Chili Peppers, like you said, super meaningful. I've got my Rugrats shirt on. Like it's a millennial podcast. It really hits home when we talk about the Peppers versus anybody who is either not a 90s band or as just earth-shattering industry.
And shout out to them just purely because I don't think you guys get this to an extent. Actually, I know Rob and I have kind of talked about this, and my buddy on Crossroad Comedy, give that a listen. Logan Parks and I. You guys don't get how hard it is to have good music. You guys both watch Letterkenny. That's all Canadian music you hear on the show. We have a ton of really good Canadian music. It's really hard to get big in the States. It's really, really hard, and it wasn't for them. And what that shows that they showed up in the heart of how big rock and roll ever was. And Rush showed up. And Rush showed up was just like
American-based music too, right? And a lot of American-based music. It wasn't the British invasion; it was bands that were American.
But but that's what I mean. Like, here's some Canadian dudes. It's a couple guys from Ontario, a couple guys from out west. Like, here, the dude we have to airdrop into our drum set. Oh, that dude. Oh, you don't know who that is? That's funny. Like, it's hard to get known here, and they made it look real easy. And I think in a different age, I think we all look at Canadian artists. If we go back to Celine or Shania Twain or Drake or Justin Bieber.
Shania Twain.
But I just mean, that's 4, right? We have a huge musical background here. It's tough to get across that border for us sometimes.
and again, let's be very clear. Let's be very clear. Even with those, the greatest thing to ever come out of Canada that no one's ever heard of is the Tragically Hip. Okay. All right. I will keep this banner going, for as long as
that will. The Tragically Hip, and I can't stress this. I think I said this last time. Our Prime Minister put out in a statement on TV to a microphone and on Twitter something that I had put out, which you want to talk about fucking a little bit of piracy. No, and I can't prove it because that account got closed because I was having fist fights with local parliament members on Twitter. It said something, I put out something, and the Prime Minister put out something and said, when Gord Downie died, the lead singer of the one-man band, the one-man poetic band, when Gord Downie died, our Prime Minister put out a statement and literally said to cameras and put out on Twitter, Canada's closed or for our international friends, Canada's closed today. We've lost a family member. That's not Wayne Gretzky, right? That's this dude you've never heard of.
Right.
The music is the best music you ever want to hear, and all the B-track stuff's just as good. New Orleans is sinking. Wheat Kings, Ahead by a Century, Scared. Get out there and give it a listen. Absolutely, the Peppers win this round.
All right.
That'll be my last shameless Canadian plug today.
No, I mean, that there are no more Canadians in the hunt, so this makes sense.
Podcasting, I'll be right back. Keep going.
Yep.
Keep going.
All right. Well, this one's going to be fun because it's going to be the battle of the 90s bands. So we've got the Foo Fighters. Well, I guess technically 80s versus the Metallica.
Oh, what an ugly bunch of fucking goofs. Put that picture of Metallica back up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to know, and I want this to get out because I say this on a couple of the other podcasts. I say this to other kids. It's always like base taste for the kids. If you're handsome or you're beautiful at a young age, chances are you won't be shit. Do you see that group of men? That group of men had something to prove. They learned an instrument. Yeah. Because.
Well, then we've got this band over here. Now, they're a little older now, but they're still rocking out. But much better looking.
Now and again, I would very much, and I'm not as good looking as I was because I'm fat now, but I have some other pictures where I'd much rather like this fucking muckety muck than what I look like when I was a kid too, right? I would love to go last this time because I'm going to be completely honest. I'm the reason the Foo Fighters are in this round. I remember that.
Well, let's just say
I wasn't bullying people. I won people over.
We might have been putting on a show a bit because the last time we did this, we had a hard listen to all of the bands that made it to the Great Eight, and we did that this time as well, where I did it this time as well. And every time I go back to the Foo Fighters discography, I get more and more blown away by how diverse their music is, and yet how just essentially rock it is. They can kind of jump all around within the rock genre, and they're always hitting it. They're always doing a really good job, no matter what you pick.
But I think something there that you said just so flippantly is so important. Other than what Saint Anger, that last full album by Metallica, a lot of those songs weren't Metallica. But I'm not mad at them.
Well, right? So like Death Magnetic came out.
They were the biggest band in the entire world for a bit. And there are only a handful of people who can ever say that shit.
Right. Well,
Metallica's one of them.
One of them is the Foo Fighters. But I mean, even like some of their more recent stuff, Metallica still hits hard. They hit heavy. They do the thing and they do it well. And I'm saying even now they put on a great live show. It's just that.
Are we going to put Napster into our equation? I'm dead serious.
That is up to you. You can do whatever you want. That's the thing.
Okay.
Like,
let me go last.
All right. To my mind, I really enjoy Metallica, and I think they still rock hard even to this day. And they are a paragon of what a rock band is supposed to sound like and be like in live performances. Outside of the live performances, all the shit with Napster, probably not. But even now, at being much older, because I said, of the bands that are still active in this list, they're significantly older than everybody except Rush, who doesn't really play live anymore. And Metallica's still going out and doing the damn thing.
There's 2 left in the list.
Right.
The piss off is the Stones still go out and do a show or two, which, like, good for you. I can't imagine it's good, but good for them.
Yeah, they're entertainers. So, but Metallica rocks. So, like, I'm going to give a lot of props to Metallica. I'm going to say that the Foo Fighters are doing everything that Metallica essentially has ever done, except maybe win Best Metal Band of the Year. Except I don't even think Metallica did that when they were supposed to, because of
a big deal because
Death Metal.
And Foo Fighters aren't metal.
No, I know, but I'm saying outside of that, Foo Fighters are just as big. They rock just as hard. They are doing all the things.
Death Metal can win the fucking best metal, then Foo Fighters can too. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So where are you, Rob? You've super hedged this one.
No. So I'm going with Foo Fighters because I think that they do everything that Metallica has accomplished as a rock band, and they're continuing to do it, and they've done it for long. Now, different times, whatever, but still.
For shits and giggles and to make big take something, I love Foo Fighters. They are my second favorite band from the 90s. We know my first.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I like Peppers more. That's the difference of, hey, do you like apples and oranges?
No, that's literally a salt and pepper argument, man.
It really is.
No one's mad at either way there, man.
But I'm going to take Metallica here just for the sense of arguing, and so that we can hear. I mean, we know your take on Foo Fighters is going to be strong, so let's hear it.
So let's hear it.
I'm a lot of things. Insufferable cunt. Abrasive just for the sake of it. There are a handful of things I hold sacred, and music's one of them. That's why I just bet against my countrymen for something I don't truly believe. Something that Rob said really rings true here. And I don't think he stated it the way that I want to. Metallica, and whatever the word he used, the epithet, the center, the da-da-da, they perfected rock music. Metallica was the thing that took everyone before them. They took heavy metal, they took electric, they took pop, they took everything. And that's why Metallica's Metallica. We heard them for the first time. And our parents heard them, we heard them. The first time you heard Metallica, you were like, yep, that's rock and roll music. I don't know who the Sandman is. but I'm like, and like, I'm not certain that I didn't hear Enter Sandman the first time with Mario Rivera strolling in from the bullpen. But I might have, because you want to talk because you want to talk Virginia about Tech. Influence.
Or Virginia Tech coming out in Blacksburg under the lights, coming out to Sandman. That is so fucking epic.
And again, I'm sure it would have been, goddamn well, I wasn't watching American football. But as someone who grew up in an age where the Jays were good for a little bit there when I was young, and we got somebody who came out here who's literally the only closer to ever get into the Hall of Fame, the first person ever unanimously be put in the Hall of Fame. My wife was watching baseball with me, and we were still dating, and it was one of the best moments of my life is I explained to her, you've never seen defeat on grown men's faces in the playoffs when those 4 or 5 notes hit. Mm-hmm. And that man strolled out. You watch professional ball players like, we got this. Da, da, da. Because you're fucked. Because God's coming out. The hammer of God is coming out to put it on you.
The nastiness.
That is what Metallica is. Well, Johnny talked about wrecking hotel rooms. Metallica got banned from Germany. We're not talking the Ritz-Carlton. They almost started a nationwide riot one time because fuck them. That's what rock and roll is. I've said all that out of respect. Because the song won and just won. Their ballads are second to none. Their power stuff is second to none. But Dave Grohl's the last living rock star of my entire generation. I've seen him multiple times. Dave Grohl canceled and gave back all the money, and he didn't have to because his leg was broken. And they said, well, you could still do it. And he said, no, I can't. I've seen him multiple times. He sprays. I have a shirt with Dave Grohl's blood on it. That's how hard he plays this fucking guitar when he comes out and plays.
Yes, he does.
When you want to talk about genre and tone and difference, it's one man. Yes, the Foo Fighters are all incredible musicians, but the first one was just Dave. And if you tell me those guys have input, fuck you's the answer. I don't know if you watched. I don't know if you watched whatever that Michael Jackson movie was when he died before we got to see him at O2 and all that. Remember that? Whatever he came out with. There's a section in there, and it makes me think of someone like Dave Grohl. And it makes me think of someone like Michael, and it makes me think of these people who are just better than us. One of these idiots, and literally this guy, I shouldn't say idiot, this guy just makes me look like a clown. It was from the New York Symphony. I'm sure this person's top 1-2 in the entire world of the thing he does. Ask Michael Jackson, how do you want this played? Michael's answer was, how I wrote it. And I know for a fact, watching the interviews and watching shit, that's how the Foo Fighters played Dave Grohl's music. Dave Grohl is this generation's most devastating and most absolutely head and shoulders on top of our Mount Rushmore pantheon rock star. So if I was 10 or 15 years older, it'd probably be Metallica. But it's not. It's the Foo Fighters.
And it's a millennial podcast. Like you said, it's hard to, like I said, Foo Fighters are doing everything that Metallica accomplished, and they've done it for as long, now longer, really. And they're doing it in ways that Metallica could never.
But now for our generation, they're playing music that Metallica would have never thought was in their wheelhouse.
Right. Exactly.
Times like these isn't a Metallica song. But the closest thing Metallica knew about Times Like These would have been what? One? The One? Those are very, very different songs. But that's their best bet. But it's just not the same.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Okay, so
I will say,
Johnny, we can't hear you.
Dave.
I will say, out of my favorite songs, though, Metallica still has my favorite song out of those two bands. But the problem with it, it's not their song.
Oh, you know what? And that's exactly the song I had up against it. And I still had the Foo Fighters first, but you're right. That should matter.
So let's talk about the last matchup. I'm going to make it real easy.
Led Zeppelin.
Well, we have to at least tell the people who it is. So
look at those motherfuckers. Look at those motherfuckers.
Our last matchup is Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, because that's not rock and roll. Oh, wait, that is
versus
really?
Nirvana. So Led Zeppelin's moving on. So now that we've shaved off, another 10, 15 minutes of our show, because that's not even a question.
How the fuck did Nirvana?
Do you want to get into this right now? Do you want to do it right now and talk about Zeppelin versus?
Are we having a discussion about Zeppelin? Because I don't believe we need to. Are we having a discussion about how the fuck Nirvana got here?
Yeah, let's have a 5-minute discussion on that.
Put the clock on. Everyone gets a minute 30. Let's give each person 90 seconds. Put that fucking bracket back up, Rob, if you can.
God,
how the
damn it.
fuck did Nirvana get here? Listen to the tone of my voice. I just put one of Nirvana's members threw over Metallica and the general contempt I have for Nirvana being here.
Oh, yeah, no, I hear it.
They played The Police, Deep Purple, and Frank Zappa. That's how they got through.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot you guys handpicked a bunch of horseshit bands that made no fucking sense.
We did not. None of those bands were handpicked. They were just in there. All of the ones in this list, in this corner of the bracket, were not picked by us at all.
Yes, they were. Are you guys telling me Frank Zappa got through without you guys pushing it?
Nope.
I voted against him twice.
What?
I voted against Frank Zappa twice.
Oh, God.
I'm not degrading that man.
Pushed through, yes.
Allison Cooper.
He got passed.
Allison Cooper's. Oh, ridiculous.
I actually voted for Alice Cooper.
Are you listening to Frank Zappa's music?
Oh, did I see Ella Fitzgerald's name on the list? Do you want to fight with me about this? I didn't think so.
I'm saying that everything you said about Michael Jackson and Dave Grohl, and they're just, oh man, when you have someone who asks you, how do you want me to play this music? The way I wrote it, that's literally how Frank Zappa did his 73 albums.
I didn't see Quincy Jones' name on there then.
Quincy Jones is fantastic too.
Quincy Jones is fantastic. But Frank
I
Zappa
didn't realize we were talking about people who didn't actually play any fucking music.
Have you seen Frank Zappa actually play guitar? His son got taught by Van Halen directly.
I'm not suggesting that man isn't one of the best at the thing he did. But if you're going to look me in the eyes and tell me he's better than Santana,
no,
Eric
he didn't
Clapton,
go against Santana. He would have lost versus Santana.
I'm just saying those men weren't on the goddamn list. I'm saying the list is faulty, and I have no interest in the list.
Santana was on the list, but just not in that bracket. That side of the bracket was not created by us. It just fell that way from rockandrollhistory.com.
That is the absolute it's very different in Canada. What I was going to use. What would you use? Oh, like you're a men's Olympic basketball team or your women's Olympic soccer team. There's a bracket of death.
And that was not it.
Nirvana didn't find its way into that bracket.
No, it didn't. It didn't. I'm not saying that we did that on purpose because we definitely did not.
Honestly, that's why we got
whiny middle-class drug addict. Fuck you, dude. You coward.
That is exactly why we randomized it, so it wouldn't be any problems, and that just happened to fall that way.
Now,
Zeppelin, let's move on.
With all that said,
Queen should just step into there because there's a real fucking argument to be made.
I mean, fair. But here we are with Zeppelin versus the Foo Fighters. Or we can talk about the Beatles versus the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So which one do you want to tackle first, guys? Because that's the final four.
I don't think there is a final four, so you guys can do whatever the fuck you want.
I know what? I'm actually very happy with this list.
I'm not as mad at this list as I thought I'd be.
Because this is
the final four that we have seen.
The finals brought it down to the greatest rock bands of all time, the top two, versus the greatest rock bands of the millennial time, the top two.
Sure.
Well, I think we all win here.
And we've got okay, so we've got my other banner that I wanted to put up there. This is we've got two matchups of truly 2 decades, where we've got, of course, it's in the fucking show, of 90s versus 70s. Just, I mean, I know, but you know what I'm talking about. You want me to just say 60s generally? No. So, fine, 60s/70s, but we know what we're talking about here.
Which I will say, as far as I would never say I'm an aficionado or somebody the way that like I literally have a degree in English literature and fucking it doesn't matter. I can sing to you word for word a bunch of Freddie Valley songs the same way I can Ed Fitzgerald, the same way that I can fucking howling, like smoking. Right. I love music. You know, I pride myself in knowing shit that went on 50, 60, 70 years before I was born. Howlin' Wolf predates what rock and roll that we know is.
Right.
Howlin' Wolf comes back from a New Orleans and native tradition. I would love I'll remember it. I won't say the North American indigenous communities influence on what rock and roll is huge, and there's a movie about it that's incredible. It's a documentary. I'll remember what it is. But what I will say is we need to have an argument right now about what matters more. The 1960s and 1970s, we are now having a discussion, no matter what the band, they shaped what we believe this thing is.
Right.
To the people who perfected it and the people that affected us the most as we listened to it. And we can do it competition to competition, or we can suss that out right now.
I mean,
that's going to be what this comes down to.
So that's a tough one for me to answer because growing up, I listened to the Beatles first, Led Zeppelin second, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and the Foo. Like I listened to all of them pretty much within the first, before I was 12, I listened to all of their stuff that was out at the time. And the Foo Fighters have continued to listen to, and the Peppers continue to listen to because they come out with more stuff. And the Beatles, I know their entire discography, Zeppelin pretty much the same. So all of these bands affected the way that I grew up. What are you giving me that look for, Johnny?
Because, I mean...
Also, Johnny, you want to mute that when you're just mucking the loudest fucking snack you could have? What are those, dry crackers or chips?
Oh, he's muted now.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
This is what it comes down to. It comes down to... I don't think it comes down to generation. I think it comes down to how we view our music growing up and still. It's how it affected us three. Everybody in this Final Four is a winner. Everybody. They're all the greatest bands ever.
Fair enough.
But this is not, there shouldn't be an argument. It shouldn't get personal. This is just how it affected us and how it influenced us. So there's no real loser here. That being said, there's only one winner.
Problem is, you and I'm almost dead certain of
that's
different ideas on who our cut and dry winners are.
So we should do, because I think, and you guys could give me a weird look and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure one side of the Final Four has the number one option for Johnny and the number one option for Biggs against each other, and then whoever wins that is going to win over my number one option, which is on the other side.
So let's do.
Oh, I believe so.
So no matter what, my team's not winning here. But,
no, I don't think so.
That's okay.
Let's talk out yours. Let's talk out your side.
All right. So I think we got to talk about the more colorful of the two in terms of their logos. So they pulled up their logos too, because I'm a nerd. So we have this band versus this band.
Yeah, but the Beatles don't have a logo, and if anything, that if they had one, it wasn't that image.
What was the company that they started? Apple Records was what they started, so the best I could do.
Could you imagine they have better lawyers and fucking trademarked that shit?
It says on there, TM, we're fine. Anyway, so those are the two. Also, was like this long. We can't even get DMCA'd for that. Anyway,
no.
We've got the Beatles versus the Red Hot Chili Peppers. For all the reasons that we talked about before, I think that the Beatles not only were fundamental, but like I said, they shaped my life growing up. I spent summers listening to all of the Beatles albums back to back to back to back to back to back. 10 years worth in an afternoon. So I know their stuff super well. And to my mind, there's a lot of poppy nonsense that they did, but there's a lot of stuff that they went all out for no reason. They overdid what they did because they were it was too boring. Like they couldn't write true pop music that was just too boring because they needed to be more creative.
No, but you don't mean that it was too boring and someone told them it was too boring. You mean artistically, those men listened to their own music and realized they had some sort of obligation because of their brilliance to fucking make songs like We All Live in a Yellow Fucking Submarine.
Terrible song.
Which is a terrible song.
Yeah.
Chili Peppers never had a terrible song.
Chili Peppers have a couple now. I would honestly, I will say I will argue both sides of what Johnny just said. The Chili Peppers do not have individual songs as bad as the Beatles have some bad songs, but this is why the Beatles need to be elevated above my second favorite rock band of our generation. And again, I said this to Johnny before we were on or off air. We didn't say what bands were. He said he and I had 1 and 1A of millennial bands. Mine was the Foo Fighters at 1A, the Peppers. His was the other way around.
Yep.
The Peppers didn't put out any bad songs. But you can't tell me right now that the Peppers explored the space and took the risks and the chances that being the biggest, most influential thing in the entire world is. They put out the fucking White Album. They fucked off to India for no reason to put out their most subpar album that still got some classics on it. They were so good over a 9-year period and banged out so much music and so much art that we forgive them for mistakes because they were just coloring outside of the lines on purpose.
And you know what? I'm gonna shock some people right here. Peppers are my favorite rock band from the 90s. But I do pay homage to the ones that came before. And if they're this much better, and if it's the Beatles, I'm going with, hey, they had a good run. My boys had a good run. I love you guys. I can listen to, now I'll be honest, I could probably listen to all of their albums more, the Chili Peppers. I can, because there is not a bad song on any of their albums.
Nope.
But I can listen to 2 songs in particular every day, all day from the Beatles. There's 2 songs that I can listen to over and over and over. And I have to go with the Beatles. It's Come Together and it's Hey Jude. I that's my guilty I have to go with the Beatles.
Yeah, John, I'll take that a step further in a weird, stupid way. And what I would say there is, because of a bunch of personal shit, and which we won't get into on a fucking podcast, I've caught myself sitting at 4 a.m. a couple times in my life being like, Rocky Raccoon sits in his room in the corner. And it's like, why? How did you have a key into my heart 40 years before I was born about something so fucking stupid? Do you know what I mean? If you want to put Hey Jude against any other rock song, now we're having a different argument. We could have an argument another day where I don't know if the Beatles win best rock song of all time.
Definitely not.
Now I was going to say
that would be very interesting. A different bracket for another time, because I know
another time, and I'm with them.
Tons of list of top rock songs of all time.
I don't think they have it. Are they in the top 5? Of course they are. Is there a chance, depending on your preference, the Beatles could have 4 or 5 different fucking songs hit the top 5? Of course. Unfortunately, that's why they beat
the Peppers,
the Chili Peppers, who absolutely deserve it, and they're a huge influence on our lives. But I have no time for people not to understand that the greatness that came before us. They like. People didn't overreact when someone said out loud, the Beatles are bigger than Jesus.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lennon said that, so that makes
sense. What I was going to say, for people who don't know, that was a band member. That wasn't the media. And it wasn't that, like, it was a big deal. But at the same time, people hemmed and hawed that shit in a time where all our parents and all our grandparents still went to church. That shit means nothing to us. You got Kanye West being like, Jesus. Oh, like, I don't care, big cat, you goofy fuck. Like, I don't like Kanye West right now is at home giving a massage to a chicken parmesan. I don't fucking know what that lunatic's doing.
He's actually in Atlanta. He's living in the fucking Atlanta Falcons stadium right now, which we're not going to talk more about. Here's what he's actually doing right now.
Yeah, why are you keeping tabs on Kanye West?
I don't know, but because Jesus and Jesus.
Sorry, I didn't know. We'll talk off air about whatever anyway, that is.
All right, so the Beatles will go through into the final because that's where they belong, right? That seems like a fair.
It's the reason why they were the number one overall, weren't they?
They were the number one overall.
They were number one overall. Yeah.
There was a reason, right? Like,
yep. So now let's talk about the fight of the century of the week. So we've got a band here that by most definitions is fantastic, and also I believe Bake's number one band of all time. And we've got
look at that.
The other
that just gets me hard looking
there
at
it. And don't worry, as you guys do this, I'm going to throw a curveball in. So everyone, welcome Dom back to the cast. What's up, Dominic?
I literally just got home from seeing Snake Eyes.
Well, we're not going to talk about that just yet. We'll get there.
Let's
talk about the fact that we're almost to the finals. The Beatles have made it into the final matchup just over the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And now we have Foo Fighters versus Led Zeppelin, and Bakes and Johnny are about to brawl it out. So if you just want to hang out, this should be very interesting.
If you have any interest in getting off your phone and defending your entire culture and way of life.
I mean, when you think of rock and roll is two words, right? Rock and roll.
Sure.
When you think of rock and roll, you think of Led Zeppelin. Also, two words. When you think of greatest guitar player of all time, what band is he in? If it's not Hendrix, it's called Jimmy Page. When you think of the greatest front man, I didn't say singer, I didn't say artist, I said front man. Rob already showed you the picture earlier. You want to know what a front man looks like? He doesn't have a shirt on. He has long, flowing, blonde hair. He has jeans so you can see the inlet of his cock. And you just know that he will fuck your girl and probably your girl's girl.
He had a dick. He had a cock coiler, by the way. Also, just for the record, I'm not going to argue this. He had a fucking Jimmy. He had a Jimi Hendrix. He had a fucking who was the saying American Woman.
Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
He was
at a certain point. We were talking about thick for no fucking reasons. We're talking about can't get through. We can't get through a bush because of how thick it is. He not wrong. I've seen the pictures. I don't have a ton of personality and acute like. And again, I have great hair. I'm not gonna lie that. Look at the weight this shit's been lifting. My hair has been lifting a lot of weight for this phase, but so has something else. Those men are coil men. And you have an assistant to take some time off your hand to tuck that shit in to go fuck off and do your day.
And not only that, those are just two of the members. Probably a top 3 drummer of all time. You know, he's not.
I have him top 4.
He is not number 1. Obviously, we talked about who number 1 was. But I mean, top 3. And then probably, besides the guy who just got knocked out, I would say John Paul is probably the greatest bass of all time.
Number 3.
Okay, so that's 2 in the top 3, and those are the band members that get laid the least. Let's talk about the genius, the man that wrote every single song for Led Zeppelin, Mr. Jimmy Page, who at 16 years old was in a band with Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck, took one of his songs from there, as you know, as Dazed and Confused, very somber hippie song, awesome. If you haven't heard it, Dazed and Confused in the original form, it's like Mamas and the Papas or Jefferson. It's very...
Do you know what? Mamas and the Papas is exactly what it's like. That's exactly what it was.
But then you know what? You turn it up, you turn the bass up, you turn the treble, you add a little electric, and a man's voice that is as smooth as butter, no shirt on, waving in the beautiful British air, and you get Led Zeppelin's Dazed and Confused. And the way that he hits those notes may not be the most musical, but is it beautiful. I'm telling you right now, Led Zeppelin is the greatest rock band of all time. And I'm not saying they made the best music. I'm not saying they might not have the best. I mean, they actually do have the best musical. I mean, they really do. But you put all that together in a blender, rock music is Led Zeppelin. Now, I'm going to give a little love here because there ain't no chance in hell that Dave Grohl's favorite band was not Led Zeppelin. No chance in hell. That was his greatest band. That was his favorite band of all time.
Can I cut you off to prove your point?
Yeah.
One, Charles Mingus, greatest bass player, pound for pound to me all the time. You made a bunch of points there. Real hard to refute, aren't they, fellas? And if Dominic and Rob remember, I'm the reason why the Foo Fighters are here today.
Yeah.
Having a fight. And if you remember real quick, I don't know if you guys actually know, because I've always been upset, because I think that, Tennessee means fucking nothing to me. It's just this stupid fucking city. And supposedly they smoke meat. Well, I don't fucking know.
I don't disagree with you there.
Those fucking idiots picked their NFL team to be the Titans. Titans were a hell of a thing. They were gigantic monsters. They were the most powerful thing in the world. They had their fucking asses handed to them. They had their brakes beat off by Zeus and the gods. I don't know why you need to pick a team full of losers. I'm not saying out loud right now or any other time. Actually, and before we get into that, James Jamerson, look that man up. He is the greatest bassist of all time. Had nothing to do with nothing. I'm about to argue Johnny's point. I'm mad about it.
Just one point real quick. I love the Foo Fighters.
No, and I know that, and I'm going to start. And I'm going to start with this.
Hold on. If you were to ask the Foo Fighters who the greatest rock band of all time, they wouldn't say the Beatles. They wouldn't say Queen. They would. I
know who it is, motherfucker. I've read both biographies and an autobiography. You said Led Zeppelin. That was Dave, because they don't say shit. As much as it is a band.
No, it's Dave.
It's Dave. Dave gave a shout out to my man from the Tragically Hip. But other than that, he wanted a band and wanted to prove himself as such. If you want to go pound for pound on one person who is the greatest rock writer, player of music, Dave Grohl plays 9 instruments. He writes his own music. He sings his own words. He is everything that this thing's supposed to be. Dave Grohl is better at everything than anyone on Led Zeppelin. The problem is we're talking about a band. And when we're talking about a band, there's not a band out there better than Led Zeppelin if you're going to lean on them, and we want to talk about that sort of thing. The only one out there who swings any sort of Savannah lion dick with them, they're about to meet in the second round because it doesn't matter what everyone else votes. Dave Grohl is better than anyone individually in Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin as a group,
Dave
there
Grohl,
is only one band they're about to meet who can even fathom to have the integrity to have the quality and quantity in our and when we're down to having a discussion of the difference between the words brilliance and genius. I know people who are geniuses. I don't know anyone who's fucking brilliant. And I think you've got 2 or 3 people who play music for Led Zeppelin who were fucking brilliant at the thing they did. If the argument is yes, none of them are the absolute best because no one's Jimi Hendrix, and and no one's Elton John, and no one's Freddie Mercury.
no one's Maynard James Keenan.
But if everyone's in the top 3 to 5, and that's your entire, if that's the only thing I can say is not all of you are the very best thing if I pick and choose, that's a hell of a thing to have to hold against you. They absolutely win, and I will fight against anyone who says against, and again, I am the reason why the Foo Fighters are here. They are the definition of what greatness in this genre is. They're not my favorite band. They're not my favorite personal band in the genre, but they are.
I have no more witnesses, Your Honor.
No, because I just fought your point for you asshole.
I appreciate that people appreciate.
I think to sum it up, what he basically is saying, right, is, and I'm trying to. There it is. I think what he's trying to say is that this is about the team. So, with that in mind, I don't know. Dominic, what do you think, bud?
It's kind of hard to tell, but I love listening to Led Zeppelin. My favorite song is Fallen from that band. My dad got me into Led Zeppelin.
Right.
But I never really got fully into them because I never really listened to all the rest of the songs.
Do yourself a favor.
Listen to them.
I think it's a good idea.
No, but in all fairness,
listen
did you guys not tell me that Dominic is like 20 years old?
Yeah.
I'm now 22.
22? I would not have the catalog I have. And again, I can't stress because I was on another show and I laughed and I thought it was kind of dickish. I can sing you Frank Sinatra's entire catalog and Elvis and Etta Fitzgerald and, obviously a lot of other rock music. I'm also, when I was 14, 15 years old, I was 6'4" and 220 pounds. Unlike Dominic, I went and worked with grown-ass men real quick because I was poor. And I was a grown man as a child, and I realized real quick if I want to go to university, I could go do something that other young men couldn't do. I get paid $24, $28 an hour.
My dad actually worked at a factory when he was 11 years old. So,
what I'm saying is, Dominic, you and me are much closer in age than me and your dad. The difference is I got called out for I did because like my fucking flow's just fucking nonsense. And before you got here, my flow I got a lot of fucking like 90s boy band energy fucking flow. So it does a lot of fucking heavy lifting for me. But I did this on a show and I had a couple of guys who were like, oh, you want to show everyone how big your arms are and how strong you are. I was like, yeah, look how big my fucking fat neck is and shit. Like, yeah, man, I'm real big and I'm real strong. I am.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, but what I'm saying is, I got to grow up doing construction from 1999. I was doing a man's job listening to fucking construction music, and that's where I got indoctrinated into rock and roll music. Right? Because none of us listen to rock and roll on our own time. We can all admit some grown-ass man in our lives introduced us to something when we were young that fucked around with what we thought good music was.
It's very true.
And that is it's 94.5 The Bull. Where I'm from.
WPDH, the home of classic rock and roll.
I can literally list a number, like a whole big list of bands my dad got me into. Yeah. I can name Tool, Disturbed, Marilyn Manson.
But that's so funny because that shows that your dad is what?
48.
I was going to say in his mid 40s. My dad's 63. My dad ain't any goddamn time for Tool.
My dad also
got right. But I'm just mean our dads would turn that shit off. Our dad would have introduced us to fucking Genesis, and we would have had to suss out for ourselves where Phil Collins landed.
My dad also got me into Genesis, Styx, and
Styx is bullshit, right? Like fuck Styx. I don't listen to that nonsense. No, I did. All I'm saying is. I have such a fucking respect and a great enjoyment of music that I love someone like Dominic and then the other three of us who are technically millennials that we've been voting through not the bands that meant the most to us,
but like the most iconic
because it matters. And I'm happy, and I will say, like, this to you guys, not our listeners, like, I'm fucking psyched for you guys. Like, I'm psyched for us to be buddies. The idea that I can trust you guys, those are good decisions. That we're not sitting here talking about, like, well, Slipknot was one of the greatest fucking rock bands of all time. I used to listen to Slipknot, too. Used to go play a violent sport, get thumped up and shit, but, like, fuck off. No, they're not. Grow up. So we can move on. Let's go to the final.
Zeppelin versus the Beatles.
So two of us are set in our ways.
Versus the Beatles.
The way it should be, by the way. The way it should be.
The only way to me is if Queen or the Stones met up with either one of these bands in the last round.
The final four, it should have been maybe Queen.
That to me, and if we have an honorable mention group, my honorable mention group is the Beatles, the Stones, Queen, and Zeppelin. That's it for me.
Rob, who would be your ideal final four?
Well, just for the record, I think the number one. Well, no, that's true. Zeppelin was a 1 seed. Rolling Stones was a 1 seed. Elvis Presley was a 1 seed, which means Queen got bumped to Zeppelin's side of the bracket.
So the only reason I didn't say Elvis is because none of you would back me.
Rob, who is your favorite? Who would be your personal final four?
I dropped Led Zeppelin for Elvis. We can have that fight later.
So my final four, my honorable mention. I mean, we've got two of them. We've got Zeppelin and we've got the Beatles. I would probably go with, I'd probably go with The Who as one of the other ones to make into the final four. And then I'd probably go with, I don't know if I'd go with the Stones. I mean, the Stones. I'd probably go with Queen over the Stones. So
my personal final four, and then Dom, you can do yours. I would do Zeppelin, the Beatles, the Eagles, and Steve Miller Band. Those are that's my final four. I know it's a little weird, but that's who my personal final four would be.
My personal four: Queen, Beatles, Foo Fighters, and Zeppelin.
That's not a terrible one either.
It really isn't.
We're right around there.
All right, Rob.
So let me talk about this last matchup then. I mean, I think I can
Do you have a
fairly.
graphic? Do you have a graphic?
Can we have a graphic? Yes, we can have a graphic.
Bring it on the graphic.
Now, which one do you want? You want the band or do you want the logos?
I want to see Paige without a shirt on, or I want to see Plant without a shirt on again because it just
Jesus Christ. You know, Dom, I know you didn't realize you were going from one movie to another, but I think Snake Eyes is PG-13. This is like NC-17 at this point. So Beatles and another shot of Led Zeppelin because Johnny wants to save it for later.
Can we not fucking do this so stupidly? Can we just get can we have the other two go first? Or are we down to two?
it is Zeppelin.
This is it. This is the final. This is the final match.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure because I was because I don't trust you guys because the other bullshit. I just want to make sure we are down to the Beatles and Zeppelin, and there's no fucking a B-side that you're going to surprise me with fucking nonsense.
There's no fucking B-sides. Get out of here. Well, let's ask Dom first. So, Dom, between the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, who would you go with?
I'm going to go with Beatles. I mean, I listened to the majority of their songs throughout my childhood. John Lennon is an icon. I've listened to his solo albums before. Imagine is my favorite song from his single album.
You keep making that move. You're going to be doing that when we're talking about fucking Robert Plant, so it's fine.
Yeah, have you seen his hog though, bud? How about we compare hogs? Let's compare hogs right now because then we'll see who wins.
Listen, fella, I love you to death. You know this one? I invented this one. I'll pull dicks out on camera all day. You want to do this with me? You're in fucking trouble, big cat. I'm proportionate. I agree with you, but I fucking will. Sorry, Dominic. Keep going.
Wait, what the fuck was the hand gesture? What the fuck?
Johnny was
we're talking about jerking or sucking dicks and pulling them out. My answer to that is show me, big fella. I dare you.
So
Johnny, want to show everyone on camera? I will too.
Second of all, Johnny was doing it while you were talking because he's not as impressed with John Lennon as you are. That's all.
Well, no, John Lennon deserves one of these, and I'm going to vote the other way. Those are two different things.
Plus, I love listening to Beatles when I'm like just chilling out in the beach or something. I like listening to Here Comes
Just
the
say
Sun.
out loud you're high.
He's high now. Come on. He went to go see a movie tonight.
I'm literally just got home and I'm not even high.
Come on, man. That's what makes the movie theater experience better.
I don't smoke weed. I've never done it. The only weed is heavy metal music and video games for me. That's all. That's all.
Did you see one of us go to their phone ignorantly and one of us just hit a hard fucking spit and quit?
Hey, stop doing that gesture. Stop
All right. So let's get Johnny. I mean, Johnny, I already know what you want to vote for. So just go ahead and let's get that vote out there, shall we? Let's even it up.
Led Zeppelin.
Who he has a huge boner for.
Bakes, are you going to stick with Zeppelin on this one? Or are you going to go with the Beatles? I really can't tell with you.
I'm completely honest. I was jerking off the entire time Dominic was speaking, so I honestly don't remember what he said. We call that the Iroquois okay. No. Johnny's not wrong in any manner in which he believes. The difference here is, and again, I don't even remember what fucking Dominic said, and I'm not certain if I 100% agree or value what he said. What I will say is this. In less than a decade, the Beatles put out the most albums, the most number one hits on the Billboard to this fucking day. And I am not talking about that Drake and Eminem have more number ones than Elvis, because that's fucking stupid. And we all know that. What we're talking about is having a huge amount of human beings be able to buy music for $2, $3 when you had to go down to a record store and buy it. No one has ever eclipsed the Beatles. That shit ended in 1969 and a half. I don't know if you guys have noticed because you're American, and sometimes I worry. It's at least 2019. You dopey bitch. We are an entire generation past somebody who set the bar and was a generation. Do I think, and we'll get into this another day, do I think that John Lennon was somebody who was the first fucking social justice warrior and somebody who I fucking hate, honestly? I hate people who have no fucking, no will and no stick to. I'm at the soup kitchen and I'm at the sweat and I'm at, I'm at the solstice and I'm at the women's shelter and I'm handing out soup and I'm handing out these things. I couldn't. A lot of people love it, like, oh, I hate like SWG, whatever the fuck, social justice warriors. I fucking hate them too. I fucking hate them. But you know why? Because I'm actually one of them. It's my entire professional and what I do in my spare time. I hate him because fuck you. John Lennon is an insufferable asshole. Jump down off your fucking high horse, John. However, he had an opportunity to be an insufferable asshole so the whole world could hear. And it did shoot him in the ass. Figuratively and literally. The Beatles are the best rock band of all fucking time. They're the most influential group because you know who fucking Yoko Ono is.
She's the reason they broke up.
Name one woman who had any sort of influence or was influential on fucking Led Zeppelin. I fucking thought so.
No, because they were actual.
Shut.
No,
No,
because they were actual.
Paul McCartney is still around. Paul McCartney influenced. Paul McCartney influenced Michael fucking Jackson. If you want to talk about who had more influence and put out better music overall, it is the Beatles, and there is no argument against the Beatles.
No, that's not even okay.
They put out better quality and better quantity in less than a decade than anyone you can put out.
Bullshit. Led Zeppelin's best albums, first 4 albums, were within 7 years. Much better music. They didn't let a bitch ruin the fucking greatest rock band of all time.
Oh, I would like to just say out loud, that's not how the rest of us feel.
And because they were too busy being rock stars, they would just fuck all these bitches and let them go because rock stars fuck bitches and move on. They don't let them ruin a huge band. Real rock stars, real rock band, Led Zeppelin, hands down. Beatles are fucking terrible. They have bad songs. Led Zeppelin never had a bad song. Ever. That's my
I didn't realize we were going to be ignorant. Here we go, then. I'm so sorry that you think that creativity and artistic integrity is something that should be questioned.
The Beatles
when they looked in the mirror and thought, we've beat it. We beat rock and roll music. Put out the White Album. And when they thought, oh, we beat that too, we went to India to put out some nonsense. And it was still better than everyone else. And yes, John left. And yes, maybe John was influenced by some woman.
Bitch.
Pump the brakes real hard. Perfectly, because just because she might have been a trifling bitch doesn't mean that's just what we're going to refer to women as, you nonsensical ass. The Beatles are absolutely better and more influential and split that span further. They took the art form further than any other group. Do I believe that Led Zeppelin was better at perfecting what rock and roll music was? I do. And I'm not certain that anybody has a claim to perfecting rock and roll music other than Led Zeppelin and Metallica. They perfected this thing.
Rob, your favorite band was a pop band. They're not a rock band.
Johnny, he's not wrong. Fuck you, Rob. Johnny and I can fight all day. You're a piece of shit.
So, Johnny, let me ask you this. Johnny.
They have 3 rock songs, 3 actual rock songs.
After the first 4 Led Zeppelin albums, what was the 5th Led Zeppelin album?
Houses of the Holy.
What was the 6th Led Zeppelin album?
It's really
What was
bad.
the 7th Led Zeppelin album?
The remastered.
What was the
That
8th
don't count.
Led Zeppelin album? You haven't listened to them. There's no way you've listened to them. Because outside of 1975, nobody listened to them.
Hey, Rob, yeah, but nobody listened to the Beatles after 68.
Well, because they broke up in 69. We still listen to them.
They started in 60 and broke up in 69. And kids who show up to work with me at my job wear Beatles shirts and can sing me their lyrics. And they don't know who the fuck Led Zeppelin is. I'm not saying those kids know music better than us. And I'm not saying that Led Zeppelin, pound for pound, in the microcosm of a couple fucking little tiny glass and micro environments, isn't the greatest rock band of all time. What I'm telling you is, pound for pound, no one's better than the fucking Beatles.
Rob, who had better rock songs?
Zeppelin did.
Who had? Are you telling me Ringo Starr was even close to John Bonham?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to pick from the goddamn bottom and work your way up?
Are you telling me that George Harrison had anything on anyone in Led Zeppelin, or Jimmy Page wasn't as good as Paul McCartney, or the other little douchebag that I can't even think of right now?
So,
you mean John Lennon?
Songwriting?
Oh, I forgot.
You mean John Lennon?
I don't remember.
You forgot who John Lennon's name was.
Oh.
Tell me right now, cut your horse shit. Because if we were going to do this, I already argued for Led Zeppelin. If you want to talk about the 2 best fucking frontmen of all time, Rolling Stone should be standing here beside the fucking Beatles. Because cut the shit. It is John and Paul and the Stones.
No, you were
so don't talk to me about Paul. Don't talk to me about some people who are pretty good at their fucking instrument. That I will tell you right now, the lead man from the Foo Fighter is better at all of their fucking instruments, let alone than half of them of anyone we've argued. If you're going to tell me you want to go pound for pound against Paul McCartney and John Lennon, you've picked the wrong fucking argument.
I'm pretty sure they play in the same 6 chords every time.
Oh yeah, that's why they're the greatest band of all fucking time.
No, so that's the issue, is that in terms of songwriting, in terms of musical composition, Lennon and McCartney are better.
And writing notes are 2 very different things. Don't fucking confuse that.
But because
then Elton John and Queen should be the top 2 bands in this fucking argument.
So my thing, Johnny, is that
wait, Biggs, you were close though. When you said top 2 frontman, you were right. It's the Stones and Zeppelin, not the Beatles.
No, it's Freddie fucking Mercury. You want to talk about frontman, pure frontman? It's Freddie Mercury. The line's drawn. That's the dude. No one else can sing a keyboard. No one else can play the music. He literally has too many vocal cords and his fucking jaw's too big.
I'll give you that. You're right. You're 100% right.
Now, again, I don't think Queen is the best. The reason why Led Zeppelin is here on my fucking back is because of the greatness of the group. But there is no one. Jimmy Page should be considered Jimmy fucking Page. Okay? But John Lennon and Paul McCartney need to be considered John and fucking Paul. Let's cut the shit. And we're going to talk about rock stars. We're going to talk about royalty. We're going to talk about dudes who have sirs in front of their goddamn names. There's no one fight with the Beatles when we get down to who are the greatest of this thing we do.
That's because the Queen didn't like heavy metal.
Well, their Queen also took over my entire country and wouldn't apologize for all the missing kids. That's not the point. What I'm saying is, to me, there's no fucking argument. Led Zeppelin is one of the most devastating individual bands of all time. If you want to go pound for pound and let's play some fucking instruments, there's only 3. It's Led Zeppelin, it's the Rolling Stones, and it's the fucking Beatles. That's it. If you want to talk about headmen, frontmen, you put Freddie Mercury in. But really, that's fucking it. There's no one else. Like, not even Elton John gets to fucking wear that crown. Elton John's the best piano player of all time.
I'll concede.
I think the biggest thing, Johnny, is that maybe Led Zeppelin didn't write any bad songs, but we don't know because none of us heard past the 5th or 6th album. Physical Graffiti was the 6th album, by the way.
I was thinking of the name. I couldn't do it.
But the other two,
I knew it, and I'm going to be honest, Johnny.
I don't know any songs on there.
For the record, Johnny, I knew it, and I felt bad not telling you because I knew you knew.
I knew it,
and I didn't know, and I knew you knew, and that's why I didn't tell you, and I feel bad about it.
Well, but my point is, it's not in the moment. It's just the idea that we could talk about the 7th album that I had to look up. I don't know any songs on there. Like, it just after 7, 8 solo albums, studio albums, Zeppelin was not the same. And the Beatles got better over time, not worse. And that is inherently the thing that sets them apart, in my opinion.
I still rather listen to Zeppelin songs over Beatles songs, but I can.
And trust me, we will listen to Zeppelin songs the next time we hang out because I'm not going to make you listen to the Beatles. But
I would.
Do you know what? And just purely because I want the fans to know, because I'm insufferable. The Beatles won. For what I want to say is, if every time I'm on this show and we do this as buddies, if you guys wanted to lean in with fucking Zeppelin songs, I might not even notice or have an opinion because how fucking good the music is. Again, we started this with what I said when we were cutting out some of the greatest fucking musicians of all time. I have no interest in someone DMing me that Flea is one of the best fucking dudes, even though he's a goofy, shirtless 54-year-old. Yeah, Flea's real fucking good, and so are the Chili Peppers, and I just think the problem is we're down to the nitty gritty, and I don't understand how anyone could stand there and say to me that if we are talking bands, any band is better than Paul McCartney and John Lennon. That's just to me, because I'll tell you, I stand by it. This, to me, in my heart of hearts, this should have been Queen.
My favorite's Heritage.
This should have been Queen and Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley is the most influential and best solo artist.
Well, that's why we have
fucking
multiple
time.
bridges. Well, but also Chuck Berry, right? I mean, if we're going to talk about influential people,
Robert Johnson wasn't terrible either. Without Robert Johnson, there's no Jimmy Page.
But I'm not gonna argue that with you either.
Without Robert Johnson,
you said Howlin' Wolf. I have
without
Howlin' Wolf.
Without Robert Johnson, there's no Howlin' Wolf.
Robert Johnson.
Without Robert Johnson, there's no Howlin' Wolf. There's no Howlin' Wolf. There's no Chuck Berry. Without Chuck Berry, there's no Eric Clapton. Without Eric Clapton, there's no Jimmy. There's no BB King.
Well, no, and again, that goes back to exactly what I said. Right? Is what I struggled with the most during this process is I was not involved in the first couple of rounds because it annoyed me to death on who did and didn't get through. I appreciate that we are now talking about the greatest of the fucking greats.
Muddy Waters, come on.
So but again, like if that's what you want, if that's what you want to tell me, you just went through without me arguing it. You just went through something I went through. I was like Howlin' Wolf, and you were like click, 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 click to fucking Eric Clapton.
Yep. No, I agree.
So tell me that Howlin' Wolf isn't the most influential.
Well, and that's the thing. The name of it is not most influential, but it is about greatest rock band, and one of the criteria is influence. That is the killer.
Again, I didn't realize that either. Right, like that is huge.
So no, I don't listen. I think that we did a great job going through all this. I think we have way too much food for thought, but I'm glad that we did this, and I'm glad that when Johnny and I started this, we didn't know that Dom and Bakes were going to join us, but we appreciate you both. And I think we're going to call it here because Johnny's going to probably want to go listen to a shit ton of Led Zeppelin, and I don't want to get DNCA'd after doing all of this. So, any other thoughts, gentlemen? And then we'll call it a night.
The Spike Podcast, college football content will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Lots of stuff to talk about. We're going to have some big guests on the Spike Network. The Spiked Show on the Iron Ostrich Network. Some big guys, some college football players will be coming on and joining us. We're still going to do the bracket, we think, even though Barstool decided to jack us because they're fucking assholes. Again.
Yep. Now it's personal. Now we have a vendetta. So now we have to do brackets just to fuck with these guys.
And we're going to do brackets. What we're going to do is we might wait a couple weeks until they start doing theirs, and then just steal their brackets. We'll be in discussion of that.
I didn't realize we were just getting an opportunity to absolutely fucking shit talk. I'm 100% with Johnny. We were absolutely just coming for your fucking neck. Fuck your jugular. You don't want to fuck with us. Fuck you. I'll learn college football, pussy. I will say what I said earlier was there is a documentary, and you should absolutely look it up. It is on a couple of the bigger platforms. It is called Rumble, the Indians Who Rocked the World. One, I'm going to start with call me an Indian to my face. I'm good for a scrap.
Good for a scrap.
I'm indigenous. I'm Mohawk. It's fine though. But Rumble is a 2027, 2028 doc. It has Patton and Bailey and Buffy St. Clair, Buffy St. Marie, Jimi Hendrix, Taboo. It shows how indigenous people shaped and pushed rock and roll. There's a reason why the drum is so fucking influential in this thing. That's us. Now, I will push. I dare anybody. Actually, now that I think about it, George Clinton's in that fucking documentary. Steven Tyler's in that documentary. Taj Mahal, John Trudeau / Iggy Pop, buddy fucking guy. This is not some indie fucking film. This is for anybody who actually loves rock and roll music. Wow. This shit goes back like spoken word shit behind the day. And I will always take that opportunity to fucking push and shout out my culture. I will say Queen should have probably won this battle, which isn't honestly true. I think Elvis Presley's the fucking best, the most talented and most influential rock artist of all time, which is a hard thing to prove in a lot of ways. I would love to prove my boys, all the Spike guys. I'd love to thank Dominic. I love everybody to come on out to
Letterkenny. Letterkenny.
Man,
yeah, Dom, you got to watch that show, bud, on Hulu, by the way.
Listen, I get annoyed, honestly, and that's not true. I used to get annoyed about how people identified me to fucking Letterkenny until I started to really push that you guys get that shit's from my home. It's not a joke. I'm not a caricature. That shit made a joke of that shit made a joke of who I am. It's not a joke. It's just where the fuck I'm from. I would say Schmucks and Canucks, at Schmucks and Canucks, give us a listen. It's great. Give us Logan Parks at Parks Comedy. I love the boys. This was great. Fuck Dominic. I don't know who this bitch is. You can't stress. Fuck Johnny B. Rob touched me once and he won't admit it. I showed the doll to the fucking prosecution. Thanks, everybody. It's been fucking amazing.
Rob,
Thank
sign
you,
us
Dave.
off, bud. Sign us off.
Alrighty. So as always, we'll see you for college football starting pretty much next week, right, Johnny?
Next week.
Wait,
Yes, sir.
wait,
Until then,
wait.
as always, want to ask you to keep spiking it. So if anybody actually wants to spike the football with us,
Hold on, Dom. What's up, Dom?
This is sponsored by Snake Eyes. Go see it on theaters, man. It's a
Keep
great
it.
all right.
movie.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. So
Don't though.
keep spiking
Fuck
it, people.
Disney.
Keep spiking it, people.
Disney, really?
Appreciate it.